In these harrowing economic times, good news is scarce. So in the week when President Obama lifted a ban on federal funding for stem cell research, we decided to bring you a positive story about an extraordinary human being. Chris O'Brien is an Australian surgeon, now retired, an author and a family man. And next month, the Prime Minister will launch the doctor's dream, an integrated cancer centre, Lifehouse, that will attract leading researchers from around the world to Australia. Chris O'Brien's autobiography is called Never Say Die, because that's the motto by which he lives. He has cancer.
I just feel immensely lucky, and I've said in a number of settings that in many ways this tumour has been a gift. And it sounds odd, but it's absolutely true. I've been able to leverage on my illness to do good, and it's allowed me to speak with a greater degree of moral authority in the development of the Cancer Centre project.
Ernest Hemingway defined courage as grace under pressure. Professor O'Brien personifies courage. As a surgeon, he battled to save the lives of his cancer patients. Now that he's a patient, he's using the same aggression to attack his illness. And he's putting all his remaining energy into his soon-to-be-launched comprehensive centre that will provide cutting-edge care for cancer sufferers like himself. And it's all being done with grace and good humour.
I wake up and check my pulse and see if I'm alive. I think, oh, well, I haven't pegged out through the night. I'll press on and have another day.
The sense of humour hasn't diminished.
No.
Shall we go and look at your beautiful garden? In the garden of his stately home in suburban Sydney, Chris O'Brien muses about life and death and cancer, which is not surprising for a man who forged a career as a surgeon, then became famous for his appearances on the Nine Network's RPA.
How are you?
Morning, Paul.
And a day after losing his eye to cancer, Paul sizes up the damage.
You look so bright and cheerful, I can't believe it.
No.
Do you have any pain?
No. You're a good surgeon with a bugger of a barber.
You got that funny haircut.
As a head and neck cancer specialist at Royal Prince Alfred Hospital, he paid his doctor's dues by fighting against funding cuts.
If you drive any machine or organisation at 110% all the time looking for more and more efficiency, it'll break.
He also worked tirelessly to raise money from corporates and the community to realise his dream of establishing a world-class cancer centre in Australia. After his stint as director of the Sydney Cancer Centre at RPA, he only had eyes for excellence.
I'm not happy, I'm not satisfied, and I don't want my colleagues to be satisfied with mediocrity.
In late 2006, the surgeon turned patient, diagnosed with an aggressive brain tumour. But he's never lost his professional zeal. And now his dream for an integrated cancer centre is about to be realised. We began our interview by talking about the centre. Tell us a little bit about Lifehouse. That's been a passion and a dream of yours really for the past few years, hasn't it?
Well, it is. Lifehouse at RPA is the name of a new comprehensive cancer centre at Royal Prince Alfred Hospital. It will be built on the Prince Alfred University of Sydney campus. And we say it's called Lifehouse at RPA, and we didn't want to drop the RPA name as a tag because it is a national brand. And RPA, Royal Prince Alfred Hospital, is known nationally as a first-rate teaching hospital. But Prince Alfred is really a teaching hospital in the old English model. And this model was really developed 300 years ago. But the model is ultimately a limiting model. And it's our desire now to transform the Sydney Cancer Centre, which has existed at Royal Prince Alfred Hospital since 1996, into an American-style comprehensive cancer centre where the clinical care of patients with cancer is underpinned by and driven by research. And it's an organisation which really burns on discovery, and where the watchwords are discovery and innovation and leading-edge, state-of-the-art clinical care and excellence.
You say it's going to be cutting edge. Will it be a mixture of traditional therapies and what we would call alternative therapies, holistic medicine?
Exactly. Now the idea is that it will be holistic anyway, And by holistic means that people who come to us at Lifehouse, and the idea is not to create an ivory tower where people from all over New South Wales and Australia have to make an inconvenient and uncomfortable journey to this elite mecca. That's not the idea at all. It's really that what goes on at Lifehouse is productive for everyone, so that new discoveries that we make are not simply for us, they'll be shared with other institutions who are treating patients with cancer and pipelined out to rural and regional areas.
So people in the western suburbs of Sydney, people in rural areas and in other states won't have to make the trek into the inner part of Sydney.
They won't. Now, if people want to come, we will offer the very, very best of care to both public and private patients, and patients will not be excluded. But our idea is not to create a place where everyone has to come and in an attempt to corner the market. That's not the idea at all. It's really to create a critical mass of clinical and academic and intellectual and research excellence, so that the opportunity arises for new discoveries to be made. And also what we'll create is a fertile environment that will attract the very, very best of our clinical and research leaders in Australia, and also give us the opportunity to attract the very best from overseas and to retain them. Because I actually wrote this in my book. I mean, why would anyone come from a very well-funded and well-staffed department in the United States, for example, to come and work in a public hospital in Australia? There's no incentive to do that at all. And if we can create the infrastructure environment that will give the facilities which are necessary to attract and retain those people, and also the intellectual environment and the funding that's necessary to attract and retain those people, then we will achieve our aim.
So governments have been supporting this venture, but will that be enough? Do you need more donations from the community?
Prime Minister Rudd has really taken up the cudgels and supported this really from the outset, and the federal government initially promised us $50 million. We've subsequently been advised that more funding will be coming from the government. Now, I don't want to preempt anything, and I will leave it to the federal government to make the announcement when they're able to about what additional funding they'll give us. But we're very hopeful that that additional funding will be substantial. In addition to that, just before Christmas, Nathan Rees, the New South Wales Premier, came to Prince Alfred Hospital and confirmed that they would contribute the land that we want. And at the moment, there's a building on that land, a building called the Page Chest Pavilion. And so we are to be given this land at a peppercorn rent, and we hope that by the end of 2009, we can start pulling down that building and we can commence building this new comprehensive cancer centre.
So you're saying it could be as much about meditation and alternative type therapies as much as chemotherapy and new drugs?
Complementary and alternative therapies and things like meditation will be offered, along with a full suite of cancer support programs for the involvement of the University of Sydney. And we have been in discussion with the university now for a couple of years, and the hope is that they will be a significant partner, significant financial contributor to the development. And again, returning to your question, you've said that on this funding issue, will we still need public contributions? And the answer is absolutely. What we want to do is to be able to initiate a public capital appeal and have the people of Sydney, New South Wales, Australia look at this as something appealing and exciting, which will potentially benefit themselves and their children and their children's children. So we want to build something that will last over 100 years, and in that time make an enormous contribution to the well-being of Australians. And it's worth pointing out that in Australia each year, 100,000 Australians are diagnosed with cancer, and 40,000 Australians die each year of cancer. But the idea is that Lifehouse will be an independent, not-for-profit organisation with its own governance model, and that will allow us to generate an operating surplus which will benefit the organisation and make it sustainable, so that we don't need continuous recurrent funding from the government.